England squad, the latest England squad announced this morning for a training gathering next week. Much consternation that Jake Connor's not in there, despite the fact there's already 4 fullbacks in the squad or something. There's some injured players in there, and this and that and the other, and everyone, people get upset because their favourite player's not in. But Tom Johnston's in, so I don't care anymore because Wakefield at least have got one player in there. It seems, apart from Connor, some saying Truman, it is difficult to pick a squad just based on 2 games, isn't it? But some believe it is.
Yeah, like Shaun said, which is easy for me to say. If he was making changes on the basis of 2 games, it'd be crazy. Do you then pick a squad? If you're going to do that, do you then pick a squad in a fortnight's time and change it all again because someone's had 2 decent games? So he's got to stick with the squad and pick it basically. The one thing he did say that I agree with is that if England were playing on Saturday, Sam Tompkins would be fullback. That is the one thing I agree with, big time. I'd have Sam as my fullback straight off.
We should say congratulations to Ian Laybourne of the Press Association, who is now the chairman of the England selectors, as appointed by Shaun Wane this morning. But it's exciting. 200 days to go. An England squad announced, training next week. We're getting somewhere, Phil. We're getting somewhere ahead of this World Cup.
I just reiterate what Gary said. I think until he gets his original selection of 35 on a field somewhere and can make sure that all the lessons that he's taught them over social media he can start putting into practice, there really genuinely is no point in changing it for change's sake. I think the other thing that he said that I thought was interesting was he wasn't going to play players out of position. It's going to be the best person in every position is going to play. Well, you don't want to stack up 5 or 6 players in one position and then be light in another. And fullback is an area where at the moment it's quite an invidious choice. I think you're right about Sam. When Sam's on, there's so much that he offers to a team. He's got an all-round game, but I just think there's a really interesting question looming about Zach Hardacre, and the question isn't so much aimed at Shaun, it's aimed at Wigan, because if Shaun carries out his intention to not play players out of position and Wigan move Zach Hardacre to centre, is he good enough to break into the England team at centre? Because at fullback he is a different player. He's been absolutely outstanding in the first 2 rounds. He's clearly happier in that role. He's more effective in that role. I think in both of the games that Wigan have played, he's been massive in just offering them that different dimension from the back. So where do you put Bevan French when he comes back? And do you then have an upset Zach Hardacre who's playing in the centre and his chances are lessened of playing in the World Cup? It's really interesting. I thought that was a telling remark from Shaun that he's just going to pick the best player in each position.
But surely as well, is there going to be an element of picking players that know how to play for Shaun Wane as well, know how to win things with Shaun Wane, Sam Tompkins, George Williams, Dan Sargentson, there are a lot of players there who know exactly what is expected of them in those big pressure games. Zach Hardacre is not one of those under Shaun Wane's reign. And also, the pressure is England need to win the World Cup on home soil. And he's going to do that with players that have played in a World Cup final before, I think.
I think that was the point about Jake Truman, that, there's a lot of intention of he's one of the best young talents we've got. But clearly, George Williams is the England number 6. It's going to take something absolutely exceptional to wrest that shirt off him. So again, I think you've got to go with Shaun and just say he's got an idea in his mind who his starting lineup already is.
If you ask Shaun or pin Shaun down, which would be no easy task, to pick a team now, I think his halfback combination would be Lomax and George Williams at 7, because the move to 7 at Canberra has brought even more out of George than he had at 6 at Wigan for me.
Yeah, either way, I think Jake Truman can't break that partnership at the moment. The other thing we haven't really heard is when are the England Knights going to be playing, and who are they going to be playing? Because people like Jake Truman does need to be playing at a higher representative level than he is week in, week out. And there's no point, again, Shaun saying, well, he's in the Knights if the Knights haven't got any matches.
I mean, I don't know anything about the Knights, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they played Jamaica again before the World Cup.
It'd be good to think so.
It's Jamaica's warm up anyway. I'm not sure. There might be a case of him playing someone like Greece as well before the World Cup as well. So, but like I say, I'm not saying of any basis of information. I'm just sort of hypothesising here.
I just thought Shaun was interesting as well on basically saying it's the World Cup or bust for him. That he's made no secret whatsoever, both on a national radio phone in on whenever it was, because I've no idea what day of the week it is, and again in the press conference today, that he doesn't. I don't think he thinks he can do a part-time role with England. But he is looking to get back into club rugby. He's made absolutely no secret of that, and as a head coach, not an assistant. I got the impression that this is it for him. Everybody is quite happy with the arrangement as it exists at the moment. The World Cup's the pinnacle. The RFL, who again need to rearrange their finances when they know what's coming in, don't have an incessant need to have someone on a high wage for the next 3 or 4 years after the World Cup. So I think this is it for Shaun. Everything is in this basket, and then he's going back to club rugby.
I almost think Shaun's been a victim of circumstance, really. He signed a full-time contract now. If times were normal, the full-time contract would have been needed because there would have been games to watch every week and meetings and training sessions every month and things like that. Whereas for the last year, he's had nothing. So it's essentially become a part-time job, not because of him, but underneath him, you know what I mean? Like circumstances conspired to almost make it a part-time job, which sort of leans to me like I think Shaun will do the World Cup this year and then maybe stay on as part-time till the next World Cup, which I think suits him perfectly. And also it suits the young talent coming through, like Jake Truman and Harry Newman coming through, because they're perhaps a bit too young for this World Cup, but for the next World Cup they'll be perfect age.
And of course the next World Cup could be in France. That was the other big news last week, that an interesting change of philosophy, whereas under previous regimes it's been, we'll put it out there and anyone can bid for it, and if you can show us a photocopy of your bank statement, you've got it, whether the money's quite there or not. Now it's a strategic decision, and the IRL under Troy Grant are saying, we think that we need to bolster the game in France. It's a very important arm of what we do as a full member. We're going to make representation to the government over there to take the full World Cup to France in 2025. He also went on to say that if it's his personal choice, 2029, it would be in America. And I think that's quite refreshing. I thought when we were on the call with Troy that suddenly actually saying what's best for the game rather than how much money are you prepared to put up, and secondly, have you actually got it, seems to me to be a really good move.
No, it's perfect. I mean, I agree with the French one anyway. I mean, because it also opens up the possibility of, I mean, I don't know whether the French A will go for it and B whether they'll think it, but you could sort of have one or two games in Barcelona or San Sebastian, maybe just over the border, but a different country nonetheless.
I think Gemma's in favour because it's just a tour of French patisseries for about 3 weeks.
Oh, and I found a nice wine last time I was there as well. It was a free bottle on a table at Catalan's, and I really enjoyed it.
Always tastes nicer when it's free.
I remember all your great photos from Barcelona while I was in Blackpool. I enjoyed that. So,
there's some nice
I'm missing Blackpool. I am bizarrely missing Blackpool. Not necessarily watching the rugby there, but just going to Blackpool.
My best isn't that.
You don't know. Well, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Just on the England squad, James Roby's back, or he's in there rather. Does he fit the England style more than Josh Hodgson? I'm not saying Josh Hodgson's a bad player or anything, but I almost want to watch him in Australia. He is perfect for their competition, But I almost think when he plays for England, he just looks. And I'm saying that I'm not a bloody expert on the telly. I'm not an analyst or anything, but he almost looks a great player in the wrong team when he plays for England rather than when he's playing for Canberra.
There's two clear types of hooker in Super League and as it is now in the NRL. There's your Josh Hodgson, Michael McIlaurin types, your more nuggety type of hooker. Then there's your running types like your James Roby, your Darryl Clark. So do you have like one of one type or one of the other?
I think Shaun was prepared to say if he had to pick a team tomorrow, Sam would be his fullback. I think if he had to pick a team tomorrow, James Roby would be his hooker. Now that might be me because I've always admired James. I think he's got to the status now where we undervalue him because he's so damn good every week. But I just think the new rules as we play them at the moment, which mean more game time for people, more dynamism out of dummy half, more running rather than necessarily. Clearly there's a minimum threshold for defence, but it's about what you create on attack. I don't think there's anybody better than seeing opportunity out of dummy half, the selection of pass. I think the ability to bring a big player onto the ball. I know that Shaun Wane has a preference perhaps for those that play in the NRL because they're put under more intensity week in, week out. But I just think James Roby's playing as well as I've seen him play. And again, Shaun was saying his stats are ridiculous. He's playing injury free, which he hasn't done for many a while. That is a benefit perhaps of having a longer period of inactivity. I just think he looks fantastic at the moment, and his combination with Alex Walmsley, who you'd have to say is another shoe-in for England at the moment, I'd stick with that.
And the other prop maybe starting Luke Thompson, who he knows from St Helens as well. So it's a perfect fit, really.
Yeah, I think Roby's been, you can't say he's been a revelation because he's so good. But I just think that the way we're playing at the moment, with the ball in play more, the fact that, hookers now are dictating everything and not spending half of their time putting their arms around two of their mates, it's just suiting him. He is he's just an extraordinary athlete, and I would have him in my team at the moment.
I would.
So that's England, I think, sorted. We should have just asked Shaun Wane just to pick his whole team after Sam Tompkins. Right, so who will you pick at number 2? Who's number 3? And gone through it, but
Captain.
John Bateman will be his captain, I think.
Yeah, I think John Bateman.
I think if you're looking for somebody that embodies Shaun Wane on the field, if you're looking for somebody that knows better than anybody else the message that he's bringing, if you're looking for someone that leads by example rather than by word, which is essentially what Shaun has done in his career, then Bateman is the nearest you'll get to Shaun Wane on the field.
And he's on both sides of the rugby league world now as well. He's a proper poster boy, isn't he? And now he's got his nice new teeth as well.
I think he started the season superbly as well, a bit under the radar. I don't know if people expected him to score 74 tries every game, but again, Wigan haven't fired yet by their own admission. Sorry, Rich, about what they did in the second half against Wakefield, but the two players that have been there when they really needed, well, 3 if you include Liam Farrell, have been Bateman and Hardacre. Yes. They couldn't have done it without either of them, particularly the first game against Lee, and I think he's been outstanding. The other interesting thing is winger, because I genuinely do think there's going to be a slight changing of the guard, and whereas we would have said Jermaine McGilvery was a shoe-in, where we know Ryan Hall's international record is as good as anybody who's played the game, I think we genuinely are now looking at Makinson and Johnson as our England wing pair, and if that doesn't excite people, I don't know what will.
Do you remember a day in the dim distant past where the England backline pretty much picked itself?
I still think there's some question marks at centre, but Herbie Farnworth, I think, could well be one of them. And then it'd be interesting. Mark Percival remains fit. I think he'd be my other choice. But Oliver Gildart, if he gets back to playing something like he was, he's a Wayne kind of player. Callum's in the mix as well. So there is choice.
What about Zach as well?
Well, that's where it was interesting when he said he wouldn't play people out of position.
But where is his position?
I think it's fullback. I think he's proved the last 2 weeks. Him and Sam should be fighting it out for first choice fullback. And as a coach, there's every incentive for both of those players to do it week in, week out. And you've got Jake Connor in the background saying, if I can put a consistent run together, don't forget me either. As a coach, you want to get those 3, 4, 5 people together and go, I'm just picking one of you. Do it every week and make it impossible for me not to choose you.
Yeah, true. Yeah. You've also not mentioned Stephen Ratchford either,
who suffers a little bit from over versatility.
Would you not say that affects Jake Connor a bit as well?
I think Jake Connor now he's not going to dislodge Josh Reynolds at 6 for Hull, provided everybody's fit. The problem at Hull is going to be for Jamie Shaw. How's he going to get back in the team? Because I think Connor is a number one. And I think working under Brett Hodgson, who was one of the most accomplished fullbacks we've seen in this competition, if he can't pick up tips from somebody like Brett Hodgson, then he will end up being one of those immense talents that never settled anywhere. The problem I think for Stephen Ratchford is I don't think anybody knows where. Darryl Powell needs to have a quiet word saying, when I come in, you're my whatever it might be, loose forward or wherever he thinks he's going to be his best position, and stick him there. And again, Ratchford's suffering from how is he going to break the Austin Widdop axis, because if you're paying so much for those two, I like Widdop when he played 7. I like Ratchford when he played 7.
Yeah, Steph played. I've had a conversation with Steph. I think the only 2 positions he never played are the 2 props, because it's often he played hooker, loose forward, second row.
Yeah, he's probably at the stage of his career where Darryl needs to just say, this is exactly what I need from you in that role. I also think if you're going to bring some kids in at Warrington, Matty Ashton deserves his chance. Now, if his best position is full back, Steph's got to accommodate that at some point, because it's about the next generation as much as it is getting the best out of the current one.
Oh, definitely.